Hey y'all, welcome to the Saxophone Factory. It's great having you here. Thank you ever so much for all the subscriptions and the like. I like to do this short video, and it's a short video today, just a few minutes about reads. And I was on a Facebook site, a Facebook group, and I did exactly what I should never do. Should never post to a Facebook group ever. Anyway, and I just had this thought. I don't know. It was early in the morning. I just thought it's like I was reading some posts about people playing reeds and playing like one and a half reeds, and I'm like, I've been teaching privately since 1985. You guys know that, and I have never started a student on anything less than a two and a half reed ever. Um, until today, and like we'll see in a minute, I didn't even think the store that I worked at sold one and a half reeds, and there's some tenor Rico Royals, I believe, that are one and a halves. Well, and the problem that I have with them, and I didn't want to make this video on Facebook and in this group because I didn't want to take it over and that kind of thing. So, and the real reason I don't start them on our students on reeds that are too soft isn't that I don't want them to be successful, is that I do want them to be successful because there is a certain amount of resistance, there's a certain amount of air, fast air that you have to produce a good tone. Now, you can be successful early by not playing, not pushing that amount of air out. You can be successful, get a sound out, which I'm talking about being successful. But I don't think that long term, that's a good plan. And I think there are people who believe now, because they've started on a one and a half reed or whatever, they think they can't play a harder reed. I can't play that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'll tell you what, and I talk about that. There's at least a couple of brands of reeds, and one I didn't get to talk about later on is Lavaz. Lavaz, it doesn't even come in numbers; they come in words like soft and medium hard, and then brick like. And on my jazz piece, and I think I explained this before, and maybe this video will be a little longer than I had anticipated. But I really wanted to talk about this on my jazz piece, and on my jazz piece is a Meyer 5M, and the tip opening is kind of a medium tip opening. It's not one of those Auto-Link 9s or Dukoff 9s where the tip of the mouthpiece is up here and the reed's way down here, and you need a really soft reed. Or even on my classical mouthpiece, which is a Rasher mouthpiece. And some people have Rashers and others use Ron Caravans. I think Ron Caravan mouthpieces probably work better on newer horns. I have a Rasher because I had a Rasher in college, and I still have the same one I played in college. So anyway, the tip opening is very, very close. So you need a harder reed in order to get a better sound, or to get the characteristic sound. Somebody mentioned, shouldn't people play the reed that they're comfortable with? But that's not the point. I know that sounds terrible to say, but comfort isn't what the point is. It isn't playing a reed that, oh, comfortable, I get a sound out. That's not what it's about. It's about creating enough pressure, creating enough airflow, and creating enough air support to get a characteristic sound and to get characteristic intonation. That's what it's about. Not if you're comfortable, but you're just sort of humming into your instrument. That's why I think and I talk about the two and a half Van Doren Blue Box, because that's sort of the standard on the chart in between, and everything else is sort of based on that. Whether that's correct or not, or should be correct or not, is sort of immaterial, because that's kind of how it is. So I'll use that as a starting point, depending on the mouthpiece the student has, and I try to direct them towards a medium mouthpiece. If I can direct them towards a medium mouthpiece, then I can put them on a medium reed and work on their embouchure and not have to worry about the proclivities of trying to play an exotic mouthpiece. And what I mean by an exotic mouthpiece, like I think a Meyer 5M is probably more exotic than one needs to start off on. Because I'm a middle of the road, let's get started middle of the road, Rubank Elementary Method guy. Uh, the best stock mouthpiece out there, I think, is the Yamaha 4C. It has it allows the student to have a characteristic sound and have a small enough pitch window so it can be learned to be played in tune. And you can use it in marching band, and you can use it in concert band, and you can use it in middle school jazz bands. Jazz mouthpiece, I don't think you can get these anymore because I don't know. The Russo JDX4 and JDX5s, for that very reason, the 5 for tenor and the 4 for alto, has a little bit larger opening, so it's a little bit edgier, but it has a small pitch window so it can be learned to be played in tune easier. If you're going to be playing more of a classical mouthpiece, like I said before, the Caravan is probably a better option than the Rasher. Why? Because on newer horns, it's easier to play in tune. But you're going to have to be able to have the air support. And you can't develop the air support unless you have a reed that is stringent enough, that pushes back enough for you to develop that air support, if you know what I mean. These are some of the reeds that we have in our store, and I go over them so you can get an idea of the kind of reeds I'm talking about. Because one of the questions was, so what brand reeds are you talking about? So I put that in this video. All right, we'll be back after the video clip in the store with a wrap up. Thank you again. All right, I posted on Facebook a minute ago. Yesterday that I've been teaching for almost 40 years, and I never start students off at anything softer than a 2.5. Now, the store that I happen to work out of does sell size 2 Van Doren reeds, and they do have Hemkeys, and I use these occasionally. And we all know that this 2.5 is not equal in strength to this 2.5. It's about 2.25, and so I might use these for my for jazz mouthpieces, because they're a little bit softer. You can see that on the table. So this idea, and they actually have some 1.5. I didn't even know they had these. I would never start anybody off on a reed that soft, because what doesn't happen is that tone production doesn't happen. So for the most part, the average student, right here, the Blue Box 2.5, and if you have a Rico Royal, the Rico Royals are a little bit softer at 2.5, maybe a 2.5 or a 3. If the embouchure is good, then the student won't have any problem. Promise. All right. Now that you've seen kind of what I'm talking about, kind of what I'm dealing with, and working with, I don't want anybody to think that I think that my way is the only way, because obviously it is not. And there have been many other teachers that have taught many other ways that have been successful and that have had successful students. And that's really what success is for me, if my students are successful. And I have some students who are out there playing professionally now, and I've talked to them, and I don't know whether they were lying to me or just trying to stroke my ego a little bit, but they have said that I help them along the way. So this is what I'm talking about. If whatever you find that works well, again, if you're getting a characteristic sound on your instrument and you're playing in tune well, that's what it's all about. That's what it's really all about. So we can have these arguments about reeds and mouthpieces until the cows come home. I don't think that's really a productive thing. But I just wanted to know what people thought about me starting all the students that I've ever had on at least a 2.5. I play different strengths of reeds on different mouthpieces, like I said, but this is just the beginning of whatever we're talking about. Again, my name is William Lawson. This is the Saxophone Factory. Thank you ever so much for subscribing and sharing the videos and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. Yes, we're going to finish up these methods. We are. We are. It's been rough time wise, so we're going to go ahead and do that. In the meantime, y'all keep practicing. Thanks.